All right, shalom, shalom. I'm the brother One coming at you the video low when it's edifying. First and foremost, I want to give honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakadash, the honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. Shalom to the hopefully elect men that scattered abroad, pushing the truth without sincerity. And also shalom to your very few sincere sisters, right, that's taking heed and getting in order in these last days. Right. So this is a quick, quick lesson really just about the rest of these from verse 28 on down in the book of Luke. Um what gave me this inspiration was today, was working and coworker was just telling me something that hit spiritual, and I'm just sitting back just taking notes, and as he talking, I'm trying to find the scripture in my head. I looked it up on my phone to, note it for later on, but pretty much he was showing me. So he was out working and he was showing me, he was like, man, you won't believe this shit. Like when it comes to people managing and not thinking about what it takes for for things to get done, you know. And so when he said it and like he was going into it, I was like, damn, that sounds like a goddamn lesson right there. So how it went was, we ran and he was like, it's a house. And he like he folk to hit the goddamn what's the shit, the lottery, you know. They hit the lottery, and what they did was they just bought out, you know, and they had bought it's a $1 million mansion. It's really bigger than that. It's $1 million home. I'm say it's more than a million, honestly. But the thing was, they got the house built from the ground up, you know, but they didn't have enough money to move in. They didn't have enough money to move in, so pretty much they didn't count the cost. They didn't sit down and think that, okay, with them um buying this home from the ground on up, they didn't think about, taxes, you know. Yeah, you may have got $1 million, but they didn't think about let's just say the 250 that's coming out going to the white man, going to Uncle Sam. No, they didn't consider all of that. Because if they did, they wouldn't have bought that house. So just you know, into the spirit, right, and into the scriptures, it had me just thinking like, hey, even with us, man, we got to consider the end. You know, we got to consider the end. This is why we're fighting through it, man, right? Because right, 'cause first we want to be a disciple of Yahweh Shai. We want to prove to him that we forsaken it all. And we count the cost. We sit down, we thoroughly thought about it. You know, and Lord, when if I can remember to grab that in the book of Matthew 19. I think it's inside Luke 14 as well. Yeah, it is. Matter of fact, let me jump to that right quick. Yep, it's Luke 14 and 26. Yep, 26. It says, matter of fact, I'm gonna reach out the NLT and I'm gonna read the other ones in the NLT as well. It says, if you want to be my disciple, right, a disciple, a follower, you must hate everyone also by comparison, your father and your mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. Why? Because, hey, with that being said, you have forsaken it all. You counting the cost. You know, you understanding what's going to come from, hating, pretty much, hating, can't get my words out, slack you. But pretty much, you hate this world. You hate your lot. And you willing to what? Turn it, give it up, give it to you. How about give it back to you? How about you, and follow it the way that he wants you to walk. And that hate is more so of a you putting this truth, over your family, you know. So, hey, yeah, you want to come to the Lord, hey, you can't you gotta put those people, on a pedestal lower, you know. But let me go back down so I don't lose my train of thought all the way. Windows 14, come on, blue letter. All right, this understand counting the cost because now. The thing was, well, I guess I just finished that off. So the thing about it was, with them they can't move into the house. They don't have the money. They don't have the funds for it. Hey, they had to buy a trailer that's in front of the $1 million home. You know, and it looks crazy because the house. When I say the house is all brick, the house look nice as hell. You know what I'm saying? And they can't even move into it because they don't have the funds for it. They didn't sit down and consider. And if they did, they wouldn't. If they would have considered it and understood what it took to do it, they would have probably not do it. You know, and that's what and that's like I said, that's when it comes back to us. You know, you want to consider all these things and still do it and hold out to the end, right? Scripture says, "He that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved." Right? And when you endure, you going through all the trials and tribulations, you going through all the afflictions, you going through, you rolling with every jab the Lord throw at you. You know. So let me get back down to that again. Uh, like I said, and I'm gonna read it inside the NLT. It says Luke 14 verse 28. It says, "But don't begin until you count the cost." You know, and that's what it is when you come to this truth. Because really, it's better to not come into this truth than you come in it and then you start pushing foot and half stepping and you fall back out, right? Because now the Lord and you didn't sup with the Lord for a little bit of time and you just fell back. You know, now the Lord got to really do you dirty when He bring that judgment, man. He tells you it's better for you not to know it at all than to know some. Really put your hands towards the plow, you know, and then stop, right? But it says, but don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there is enough money to finish it? You know, and that's the thing about it, and that's what led me in the spirit. It was just like I said, when the dude was just speaking on it, I was just thinking about this scripture right here. You know, and this was like around shit, like around three o'clock. You know, we was talking about this. It was on my mind since then. You know, but you know that's yeah, construction. You know, you getting a quote to see if you can got the funds for it. And these people didn't do it. They didn't even consider it. They didn't even think about it. They just went off and just did some shit because they seen that they had the extra money for it. Because they hit the lottery. Cool. You know, but it says otherwise you might complete only the foundation before running out of money, and then everyone would laugh at you. And it's so crazy because when you walk by when you ride by these folks' house, well, everybody's at in the town know the story of them. You know, and I was like, damn, that's a excuse me, a prime example of this is what happens when you don't count the cost. Consider what the hell you're doing. You're gonna be out here looking crazy, right? And they got like like you see a nice ass house and literally in front of it, right, on the same property, right? Like literally probably not even a yard or two, a yard or two, right? There goes it's the big the $1 million home, you know. But it goes to show you that you gonna look crazy as hell when people ride by because you got this nice ass house on this yard, and you got this beat up trailer home in front of it. It goes to show you that yeah, nah, don't fold much because they ain't had enough money to finish it, man. And that's one thing with us, man. Hey, we you don't want to fall back into this world, man. Right? Once we put our boots on this ground to this ministry, right? You're not supposed to take them back off the concrete, man. You know, that is like I remember the big bro Yarmaya when he was just going into it, but hey, you proving them niggas right, even though that they wrong. When you didn't consider, right? You didn't consider the end, and next now you start fucking up. Now you couldn't even finish the mission. You didn't fell back into the world. So now you proving your people, you proving them right, even though that they still wrong. And it was beautifully said how he said it, right? But it says otherwise you might complete, excuse me, you might complete only the foundation. You're gonna do just a little bit, you know, before running out of money, and then everyone will laugh at you. Like, look, this nigga don't even know how to. He don't know what he talking about. He came out, brought out a couple scriptures, and after that he back in the word. He back eating pork with us, you know. So everybody gonna laugh at you like, yeah, you wasn't as serious as you thought you was. You know, it's just they would say, there's the person who started the building and couldn't afford to finish it. Right? He wasn't built. He didn't. He wasn't wise enough, man. You know, he was not wise enough to utilize his money. It says, or what king will go to war against another king without first sitting down with his counselors to discuss whether his army of 10,000 could defeat the 20,000 soldiers marching against him, right? It's all about considering, man. Considering the last and considering, yeah, you got to consider, man. Shit, you got to think, you know? And if he can't, it's like, and if he can't, he will send a delegation delegation to discuss terms of peace while the enemy is still far away, right? Pretty much, hey, he be like, you know what? I can't even go to war with y'all. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. My army ain't on point. So, hey, look, I'm gonna consider that's a wise move, man. You know, um, I'm gonna read down to the end of it. It says salt is good for seasoning, but if it loses its flavor, how do you make it salty again? Flavorless salt is good neither for the soil. It's like you're not neither for the soil nor for the mature manure pile. It's like a manure pile. It is thrown away. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. You know, understand that, right? We pick up this plow and we don't put it back down. We keep plowing. You know, you don't want nobody to be laughing at you because, hey, like I said, when you ride by, you'll be like, damn, how the fuck did they mismanage them? You know, how they fuck up that bad? Did they even consider like the bricks that they was buying? How high they wanted, how wide they wanted the house? Like these folks didn't consider none of that, man, and it cost them. Now them folks can't even move inside a $1 million house that they built from ground up, all because they didn't consider. They didn't know how to proper utilize the money. So Lord willing, this was edifying. Excuse me. And it makes sense. Lord, like I say, is edifying, right? But I'm gonna close out by giving all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakadash. Shalom.